Fi here. Today I'm coming with another video. Today I'm gonna do like a tutorial series of how to draw noses. So I drew like 6 noses and I'm gonna show you guys how to draw 3 of them, I believe, 3 or 4. I don't remember how many of them I recorded. Some of them I did not record. So yeah, so the first nose here is just a basic nose. The reason why I picked this nose as my reference for this is because it was very standard. It's not a special nose. It's a nose that can be seen on almost every person because it's universal, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, basically when you're drawing noses, remember that they're different on everyone. So if you do studies, then definitely look at different people and different places so that you don't have just one type of nose that you're studying, because it's not the reality of life. So basically, first thing I did is I sketched out the basic shape of the nose. I started with the bridge of the nose, and then I went down to the nostrils and that area, which you're gonna see me do in a minute. Also, the brush that I'm using right now is the Bristol Fraudis, which is the brush I use a lot. It's not a blending brush, it's kind of just like a paintbrush, and that's the brush that I tend to use most of the time when I'm sketching. I've absolutely fallen in love with it. And yeah, also I'm making the lines around the base of the nose pretty thick, where I'm gonna blend where it needs to be blended, like darker, so that I can so it's easier when I'm blending. And yeah, also I drew the nose a little tilted, so I'm just fixing that. Great thing about digital art is you can do that and not have to erase. So yeah. So the next thing I'm gonna do is we're supposed to like, normally I will pick the color. I don't use color picker when I'm drawing because I prefer getting kind of estimating my colors, if that makes any sense, instead of like picking them off the image, unless I like totally don't know which color to use. So yeah, first thing I'm gonna do is just lay down my base color, and the base color that I use is kind of a gray that's in between. It's like a third away from black, no, 2/3 away from black, and it's in between. Wait, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. And I'm gonna just use that all around the edges. And the one brush I'm using for this is Bristol's Mix, which you don't really have to use that. You can use a brush that isn't a mixing brush. I just chose to use that one because it has kind of a flat tip. It's not like pointed or anything, and it's just easy with filling spaces. Now I'm going in with highlighting from like the start. I'm just adding where the highlight is. That's how I usually do it. I will get the base color down, then I'll get highlights, and you can kind of see that your nose is kind of already forming, because the highlighting it makes you know that the area that you're drawing is raised and that light is hitting there, which is why it's going to be lighter than the rest of the nose, if that makes sense. Now I'm shading the bridge part. I don't know if that's the bridge. I'm sorry. Like under where near where your eyes would be, like kind of like your cheek and nose area. That makes sense. So yes, and now I'm just adding more values in where there needs to be values. Areas that have a darker color means that it is more of a. Usually it means that there's no light shining there. I'm also using a sharper brush for that area, for edges, yeah. One mistake that I used to make when I was just started doing drawing digitally is I would just use the blending brush and only the blending brush, so I just thought I'd leave that tip there. try to use sharper brushes, and then you can blend if you want to. But it's if you use the right colors, then you almost will not have to blend. Like, yeah, and when you blend, it kind of looks unnatural because their faces aren't like perfectly smooth and stuff. So if you use a sharper brush and you change the colors appropriately, you're able to get that almost the same look as the picture, I guess. I don't know. Also, since this, I guess this is kind of sketching right now because I'm just darkening my lines that need to be darkened. I'm just going over them so that it's easier when I'm drawing everything else. They're all nice and dark. So yeah. And now I'm just adding in more darker details where there's shadows. The shadows are from the nose, if you didn't know. Sorry, that sounded rude. The shadows are from the nose, and I'm basically just fixing them. They look a little bit reddish here, so I believe that was a mistake, I'm not sure. And yeah, I am fixing over the color because it was like brownish. So yeah. Still using the bristles mixed brush, which is what I use for the most of this drawing. I'm adding in the shading on the nostrils now. Yeah. Another great tip while I'm doing this is if you're not using a reference, I recommend drawing your noses from a triangle. Does that make sense? I will probably do how to draw noses without a reference video. But if you're a beginning artist, then I recommend using a reference for your noses and using a reference for almost everything because you will improve so much that way. Not using a reference is kind of like going to something blindly. So if you can, please use a reference, even if it's your own nose. If it's your own nose, that's awesome. Take a picture of your nose and draw it, and you will learn so much from doing that. I'm totally into using references. As long as you cite your references so that the photographer, the person who took the pictures, gets their credit where it's due. And don't use another person's art as a reference because they might have anatomy mistakes that you don't see yet because you're a beginner, but if you're more advanced, you will start seeing those mistakes that artist made, and you're going to be copying those artists' bad habits. So I recommend using a real picture instead of someone's artwork. Also, most people don't like when you copy their art, so yeah. Now that that's kind of done, I'm just basically doing the same thing I was doing before, darkening my lines where the shadows are. And yes, also for this nose, since it has freckles, it's a little bit more difficult to draw because there's all of those little freckle details. So I wasn't gonna do this picture perfect, if that makes sense. So I got most of the freckle details in, but I did not I wasn't like trying to make it look exactly dead on. This freckle is here and this freckle is there. Like, no, I did that for some of them that were more obvious, but for other ones I kind of just went with it. You'll see that very soon. Another thing is, right now I'm adding more highlighting in my areas. This brush is like really bad, so I was like, no. Now we're getting back to the adding more detail now. So I have most of my colors down. Not all of them are blended that well, but I'm gonna blend them out and add in some freckles. You can also add the freckles in before you blend. You can add freckles in before you blend, but I recommend blending first because Yeah. I do tend to blend freckles in a little bit because they're not usually that bright. Like you don't just like get black color and just like freckle it, splatter it all over your drawing. It's kind of what I did at first. um, but yeah, don't do that. You can, obviously, if a method works for you, then you should use it. But not. That's not what I do, since this is kind of like how I draw my noses. Yeah. So I started adding freckles on the bridge of her nose. I didn't really get. I was gonna get down to nostrils pretty soon. I'm cringing because I see like this little spot on the screen. I don't know if it's like anyone else sees it, but I see this little spot there, and I'm just hoping I didn't blend it. I didn't add freckles there yet. And I'm also not gonna use white or black because white and black, you can use them if you know how to control opacity really good. Otherwise, I don't recommend to do them because they're very strong colors and they almost don't exist in the natural world. Because, like, okay, like you see white, you know, like this shirt is white, but is it really white? When you're drawing it, you're gonna draw it with shadows and all this kind of stuff. They usually turn out be a little bit more gray than what you would call white when you're actually painting. That's what I say. Like, be careful when you're using such strong colors. I didn't use black there. I used very dark gray, but I didn't use black because black is a strong color. And as artists, you need to look at different shades and different tones of the color before you just just stick with one and roll with it. So yes, stay away from black and white. Try to go for grays, and it gives you a brighter thing. When you're doing lighting, white is the color you should go for, but even for that, sometimes for natural lighting, I wouldn't use a white because it's too strong. I would use a gray. If your image is in grayscale. If your image is not, then just go with what works for you. But yeah, I'll do a tutorial on a colored nose if that's like really needed. I don't know. So this is the end of my video. Hopefully this was helpful. I also recommend going back over your art that you just finished and critiquing it yourself and then fixing it again. That's what I did for this. When I finished drawing this, I went the next day and then I looked at it again. I was just like, come on, there's like this mistake and there's like this mistake, and when did I fix them? Obviously, don't be too critical of your art because that can be bad. But I also recommend critiquing yourself and seeing the mistakes you can make that you're making, so that you can improve them and become a better artist. So, yeah. And obviously, the picture that I was using was not originally just like a nose picture. It was a picture of a beautiful girl. I believe her name is Matilda Prince. I'm not sure. She might be a model. I'm not sure. I found her off of Pinterest. I believe I talked about this in my other video. I make a Pinterest for my artwork so that I have like references of photography, and it makes it a lot easier when you're drawing because you have kind of like a basis. You have an idea of what you're doing, and you have references easily at grab so you can save them and use them. So yes, I will leave the link for where I got the picture from in the description, or somewhere in this video. You might see the picture on the screen, and I will leave it there so that you can use it as a reference and know where to cite the original person who took this picture. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, I have an Instagram. It's called Vivified Arts. Vivified Art. And yeah. Subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Thank you. Bye.